Hi everyone, it's Marty. Welcome to class 33, which is about keto diets and what is stopping you. So here's our agenda, which let's just move right into it, which is the handouts. Um, we had these pancakes. We had a potluck, and the kitchen's part of the potluck was making pancakes. Uh, I've made a lot of pancakes in the last few weeks, trying to make sure that this recipe works for you consistently. One of the things that I found was don't bring the heat up too much. And you'll notice that there's vinegar in this, and that's because it activates I'm sorry about that, baking soda. So uh, if you are thinking, oh gosh, these are not getting puffy enough, add just a little bit more vinegar or let it sit for a few minutes so that the baking soda and the vinegar react with each other. Um, you have to keep painting the pan depending on what kind of pan you have. I had cast iron painted with oil just to make sure that there's some there. If you have a well-seasoned pan, that shouldn't be a boatload of oil, but just depending on what kind of oil or what kind of pan you may have. The Peach Perfect muffins are really great. It's a very easy recipe. You can pop out the peaches for, blueberries or whatever else may make you happy at the time. Don't be dissuaded from making muffins or those kind of baked goods because there's a lot of ingredients. Because honestly, once you just kind of dump it all together and then you cook and you've got 12 muffins, which depending on how many people you're feeding, may be enough for a while. So we also made Gimme Lean sausage, which is made by Light Life. That's the producer. And we found that when you did the grocery tour in Bilo. So it's usually in the produce department. Trader Joe's is discontinuing it. I think they're coming out with their own product. So just watch because I remember the Gimme Lean was a little high in sodium, but not too bad. It was very low in fat. So if you're going to use a mock meat product because you're having a nice brunch, a Mother's Day brunch or something like that, just be aware and look at the label. Successes and challenges. We are coming up to our 1 year. So we are on week 33. So we're coming up to week 36, which is going to be a 1 year anniversary. So we want to make sure that you hit those assessments with, and that you feel good about what you've been doing and that we are supporting that. So finding your motivation. So while this is a research study, this is not a Jenny Craig program or a program, it's a research study. We know that not everyone is perfect and there are challenges that we will all experience on our way with our journey to health. But we wanted to take a little time to talk to you about what is your motivation and goal setting for the next 6 weeks. And that will be our 1 year assessment. So how is your life currently now? Your weight affecting your life right now? That's what I want to say. How is your current weight affecting your life right now? Have you been losing weight? Have you been gaining weight? We really need to know what's going on so that we can support you. Some people talk about part of them wanting to change their eating patterns, and part of them is not really wanting to change. And the first thing is to acknowledge, is that true for you? Is that real? A lot of times, getting over challenges is simply just acknowledging exactly what it is. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to make changes in your eating pattern? By now, it's been a year. It's been almost a year. You should be basically 100% into your diet recommendations. It's been a year. As we have been told by many participants, I know what to do. You guys have showed me all the different ways I need to cook, all the different ways I can get food, and we are here to support you. We're not here to say, oh, you bad person. We are here to say, if you aren't, how can we get you there? That's what we want to do because that's why you got into this study. And so we want to make sure that you're successful. If you're on a scale of how ready are you is a 4, then that answers the question in a different way than, well, I'm really ready. I'm at a 10. I'm totally ready. But how doable do you think it is? Well, think I could actually do it. I think that's my four. Like I don't really think I could do it. I would like to, but I don't think I can. That is a whole different scenario and it needs a different set of support. So that's why this is what we're trying to find out. So what makes you feel like you can continue to make progress if you decide to? What is it that's motivating you? So we went around the room and we asked people about that. So how can we help you succeed? We really want to know. I had one person who said, well, I got off the track during the holiday season and I got back on for 1 week and then I didn't the next week. So I just really need to do better. So I said, well, what does doing better mean? Exactly. It means that I need to prep. Okay, so what day are you going to prep? Sunday. Okay, what time? In the afternoon. Okay, because I am realizing that I got a little off track and I need to prep and I'm going to be prepping on Sunday. So the participant and I are going to exchange photographs of what we are prepping just to keep ourselves on track. And then I also contacted them and they said, and I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm picking one recipe and I'm going to make 3 days of that recipe so that 3 days I definitely have something to eat. It's ready. All I have to do is put it in the microwave. And then the other days, because I don't like to eat the same thing all the time, I will have other stuff cut up. And that's it. That's all I'm doing. So I'm going to be microwaving my sweet potatoes at the same time that I'm making this other dish, which actually was crab cakes. And I'm also going to make a sauce for the crab cakes. And then I'm just going to put lettuce into 3 containers. So I have the lettuce already put in containers so I can take my salad to work because that's what I really like for lunch. That's it. That takes about an hour. And when I come home at 9 o'clock at night, stuff is already there. So that's what we mean about what are some practical things that you need to do to achieve this goal. Just saying I'm going to do better doesn't do it. And you need to either write it down or talk to someone and say, this is what it is. And what are your barriers? We really want to know what are your barriers. Acknowledge whatever they are. They're just there. It's not bad or good. They're just there. So first they acknowledge them. We're going to be having our assessments start on April 1st. So what health goals do you have for those assessments? Do you want to lose weight? Are you kind of been stuck on losing weight? We have people who have lost a lot of weight, but then they have other things. Lower their blood pressure or fat loss or muscle gain. We've had some people who have lost a lot of weight, but they're not really building on any kind of lean body mass, which keeps your balance and other things, especially as you get older. Can you commit to following your diet 100% until your lab assessment appointment? That's 6 weeks. And a lot of times I can do things if I think they're only for a week or 2 weeks, but I couldn't do them if someone said, this is for every day for the rest of your life. Could you do it for 6 weeks? Whatever your goal is. And then how can we help you get there? That's what we want to do. Okay, so let's talk about ketogenic diets and why you shouldn't go on it. Ketogenic diets, as Dr. Brie said, are often lumped into low carb diets like Atkins, Paleo, South Beach, all those kind of things, the sugar diet, all that stuff. But a ketogenic diet is actually very different. And it's different because a keto plan centers on fat, which supplies as much as 90% of daily calories. And it is not the type of diet to try as an experiment. And the reason we say that is that Kathy McManus, who is an RD and the director of the Department of Nutrition at Brigham and Women's Hospital, which is affiliated with Harvard, says that a keto diet is primarily used to help reduce the frequency of epileptic seizures in children. While it has also been tried for weight loss, only short-term results have been studied and the results have been mixed. We don't know if it works in the long term or even if it is safe. And we want you to be safe. So here's the deal. People lost weight. There's a million different ways to lose weight. Okay, I've seen people lose weight in many, many different ways. The keto diet aims to force your body into using a different type of fuel as opposed to glucose, which is basically what your body runs on. So instead of trying to use glucose that comes from carbohydrates like grains, legumes, all that stuff we've been eating, the keto diet relies on ketone bodies as a fuel that the liver produces from stored fat. So your liver says, oh my gosh, we're running out of glucose. Let's make ketone bodies. And the ketone bodies, depending on what you're eating, because I have a lot of people say, "Oh, I lost weight on keto, and I felt better and all this stuff," because they were eating so much junk and things that were not supporting themselves. And keto bodies do, they go past the blood-brain barrier, which leads to an issue I'm going to talk about in just a minute. So burning fat seems like a really good idea, right? I'm going to burn all my fat, but getting the liver to make ketone bodies is very tricky. And I'm sorry, I have to click over here. It typically takes a few days to reach a state of ketosis, which means that your body thinks it's starving to death, and a lot of stuff begins to kick in. You might actually have some mood changers because we know from people who have been rescued and have been starving that once the body begins to shut down, it's like you have this hunger, 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 and then your body goes, you know what? I don't think we're going to live much longer. So we're just going to start shutting down and not giving that response and be in a better mood. I mean, literally, this is what we have when we rescue people. So here's the other things. Eating too much protein can interfere with ketosis, which is what people don't realize. And that's what makes it different than a paleo diet. So what do you eat? Well, in a 2,000 calorie diet, and I apologize for this slide, when it comes to this program, sometimes weird things happen. So you will have 165 grams of fat, 40 grams of carbs, 75 grams of protein. So this bowl of bananas and oatmeal would be over your carb limit. So literally, that's how little carbohydrates you can have. So what do you eat? You eat lots of butter and fat. And Dr. Brie was talking about being with a bunch of keto people at a table and they were putting butter in their coffee, which is something that I saw people do in Nepal. But when you're walking, the Himalayas, you're looking for 4,000 calories and you're going to get it from anything possible. Real chai is made with yak butter. But the issue with this keto diet is that you're eating lots of fat and people don't differentiate between saturated and unsaturated fats. So what do you eat? Well, you eat protein, but you don't eat very much protein. And there's no differentiation between lean and fattening sources. And beans, forget it. You can't have very many beans at all. What about fruits and veggies? Well, you really can't have any fruit except for a couple of berries because they're mainly water. Vegetables, green leafy vegetables, and cruciferous vegetables, and almost any kind of vegetables are very small. A cup of chopped broccoli has about 6 carbs. So if you can only have about 40 grams a day, or you can have like 40 carbs a day, the reality is that you're going to have a couple of cups of stuff, and that's it, which leads to another problem. But what's the harm in trying it out? Well, nutrition deficiency. Avoiding all these fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes can put you at deficiencies in micronutrients. And people don't think about that. In magnesium, phosphorus, selenium, vitamins B and C. And you may remember when we were talking about salt. If you don't, go back and look at your notes or look at the class about salt. I think it was week 7. And magnesium and salt and how that all works. Liver problems. With so much fat to metabolize, the diet can make any existing liver conditions worse. So if anybody had any problems with their liver beforehand, it's going to get worse. Kidney problems. We looked at what protein does, but the keto diet will overload them. So the current recommendations for protein averages 46 to 56 grams, depending on how tall you are and what you do. And you're eating less than that. Constipation. Keto diet is low in fibrous foods like grains and legumes. So you're going to be, checking out the Metamucil in Rite Aid. Also, fuzzy thinking and mood swings. The brain needs sugar for healthy carbohydrates to function, and low carb diets can cause confusion and irritability, especially if you're going on it for a few months at a time. That's where things can get a little goofy. But I do understand that some people have been eating so much garbage for so long that they change to something like this, and all of a sudden they say, "Oh, I feel so much better." And they feel so much better because they are finally eating something, which may be that small amount of carbohydrates, the non-starchy vegetables that is actually feeding the brain. So can we apply some of the things from the keto diet to our diets? Because we don't want to say everything's just horrible. Yeah, they focus on minimally processed foods and eat lots of non-starchy veggies throughout the day. So that's a good thing. And protein is not the most important thing in the world because we've talked about that. So in conclusion, you may have some experts in the room, and we brought one in who are here to support you. And that's, Dr. Bree is there. She's brilliant. The diet that we're recommending is really healthy for your heart, gut, liver, and kidneys. It's feeding, and I should do it the whole thing on the gut biome. But honestly, once you start on the gut biome, you realize you're into a half an hour explaining stuff. But we know that it actually feeds the good gut biome in in your colon, which is really important to decrease your risk for cancer and other diseases. So diet is not just about weight loss; it's about overall health. Really important. And if you have any questions, please contact us, especially Dr. Bree. She just did all this, brushing up on everything we know about keto diets. Okay, so then Mary talked about the New Soul study in Black History Month. And there's a mistrust of academic and research institutions. And then this mistrust of academic and research institutions has been reported as the number one reason why African Americans historically have not participated in research studies. And most people know about the Tuskegee syphilis study, where African Americans were intentionally infected with syphilis and treatment was withheld. I mean, withheld. There's a couple of very good documentaries and also a feature film about this that was very well done. If you want to know more about this, it was really awful. Then in the 1950s, and notice Mary hasn't even gone back to the things that were done at the turn of the century, which I was reading a very interesting book about that. Henrietta Lacks blood samples were obtained without permission for cancer research, and they were still being used after her death, which her family found out about, and that's a pretty awful thing to do. In 1973, Congress issued new guidelines about um, research studies, and it protects human subjects, and especially for US government funded research projects. We all had to go through a few hours of training. Every time you do a new research project, you have to go through a few hours of training just to make sure that you are up on any changes. And so that's one of the things that we want you to know is that we are following every guideline that is out there. We're trying to be above and beyond whatever the norm is because we want to make sure that everything is ethical. And the point is that lack of participation equals lack of proper treatment for African Americans. But we want to bring home the point that the New Soul study is history in the making. You are part of history right now in research. You are so important. We keep telling you that, but really, we can't stress it enough. We are approved and regulated by an institutional review board, which means that there are other people who are watching everything about this study. They're the first dietary intervention for African Americans in the Southeast. So thank you for being a part of this part of history. And the results from this inform policy, physician practices, and treatment recommendations. I can't stress enough on how, when I was out with my own private practice, we would, I would go to trainings and other things, and it is research that says long-term research, which is why this is a 2-year project. This is what worked for 2 years. Okay, so now I can kind of base what I'm doing with my patients on what was going on in this study. And also whatever problems they had, I'm going to look for with my patients. So honestly, this is going to be a nationwide set of physicians and adjunct professionals, medical professionals who are going to be looking at this study to help their patients with various types of disease states. Then we had a raffle. Sorry you missed it. And then we also wanted to say thank you for your participation. And we're going to highlight, that's what we did. We highlighted some New Soul Black-owned businesses. You're going to be getting the handout with this email, and they'll be put on the website. The other thing is you're going to get a link. Jay-Z and Beyonce have a Become Vegan website, and you can win tickets to one of their concerts. So that link is also in the email. So click on that, and maybe you'll win some tickets. All right, so what did we discuss today? What is a keto diet and what is your motivation? And how do how do you get to the next step? And please call us, contact us. We want you to get there. All right, so what we're going to do next, okay, our next class, we'll have Chef Gloria. She'll be making a casserole, and I'm going to make some soup with that because the casserole is good. It's really yummy, but it's not like a heavy, heavy casserole. It's a nice vegetable casserole. Tanya Bolton is going to be she's a counselor. She's going to help you get on track because we really want people to succeed. Then the week after that, our next meeting after that, which is in March, I'll be discussing what cholesterol is, and we're going to have a pizza bar, so that should be fun. And then week 36, which is April 1st, setting goals for next year. So Jasmine will be coming back. She's going to be doing a guided visualization for you on goal setting, which I think is really a lovely thing to do. And we'll be talking about goal setting. All right, so you didn't have an in-class survey, don't worry about that, but you get your bi-weekly questionnaires. Please fill it in, have it in by Sunday. Thank you so much for being part of the study. We really, really appreciate everything you do. And just know that all the work that you are doing is appreciated, and we want to support it in any way possible.